Hello fellow adventurers and collectors, Filmaholic here, and today, as promised, we hit 100 subscribers, so I want to thank you all for subscribing and sticking with me despite my irregular upload schedule. I'm going to try and get better at it, but I'm going to let my actions speak louder than my words. But, today we're going to be going through a couple questions that were submitted to me, and there weren't too many, but there were some excellent questions that were asked, so I figured we could go through them right now. And I am recording this at 2 in the morning, so pardon me if I'm sounding a little tired, but we'll see if we can get through this together. Now, all the questions came from WGC98 on Instagram, who I highly recommend to check out because their photography is completely amazing. But they were asking a lot of questions involving my process behind taking photos and things like that, so I figured I would break this off into its own video because I felt like it was a good idea to kind of go behind the scenes of my process and everything like that. So the first question being asked is, how do you set up your lighting for your girls or other figurines in your photos? Now, it varies, but when it comes to like single shots for like my smart dolls, I like to keep it simple. And for example, here I used one of my favorite lamps that has this built-in diffuser in it for the front-facing light, and then the other two lights I use for accent lighting to kind of get the background to separate from her, since she's the main subject. Now, the main reason I put it in front is because I want to get the eyes to light up, because that's one of the main draws of these figures, and for me it's hard to do that, but I also do that in editing as well to bring it out. Now, speaking of editing, I will jump back to you when we get there. Hopefully I remember to do it.
You suck!
Now, as you can see with the final edit, I don't really do too much in terms of like over editing it, because I like to keep it simple, like I said. So what I usually do is just focus on color correcting, cropping, and things like that. Alright, so the next question is, what is my favorite lens? And this is where I have to kind of come clean with you guys. I usually stick to the kit lenses that my cameras come with, so I don't necessarily switch them out too often. For my first camera, I did have a telephoto lens that I like to use, but outside of that, I usually stick to the 25 to 70 millimeter lens. But if I were to give actual thought into getting a lens, because I like to put all my money towards figures, but regardless, if I were to choose a lens, I would probably go for a macro lens, because I notice with a lot of my editing I do crop my photos, so having to just be able to move in closer to the subject without having to crop it would definitely help. But outside of that, probably just a wide angle lens, just to diversify my lens kit. But like I said, I just stick to what I have, and that's what you'll notice too with a lot of my stuff, is that I'm a big advocate for just using the tools you have. It doesn't matter what kind of tools you have, so long as you use them well. So yeah, sorry for the lackluster answer. Now the next question is, how do I edit my photos? Now when it comes to editing, I used to use Photoshop, but I no longer have that subscription, so I use this program called Photoscape X, which is free for Mac at least, and it works pretty well. It's a good substitute for Photoshop, but again, nothing compares to Photoshop. But for a free option, it's pretty good, and it does well for what I needed to do, and it's pretty much just basic editing. Like I said, I don't really do too much in terms of anything fancy. I just work on color correction, and now recently I've only started to do specific masking for the eyes and the smart dolls to bring them out a little bit more, since most of my shots, they're in shadow for some reason. But outside of that, I just focus on color correcting because I'm not big into filters and everything like that. Although in this segment here, you do notice that I have some filters added to this later on, but I use it sparingly, not like I'm using it for every shot. But I do notice that I do use vignette a lot. I should probably cut back on that. But yeah, outside of that, I would recommend using Photoscape X and Pixel Style, but I haven't used that in a while. But outside of that, I've run the gambit of different editing programs, and Photoscape seems to be the most efficient one that I've found, at least for Mac. That isn't, of course, Photoshop. If you want me to go a little bit more in depth in terms of editing, I have more footage of this as well, and also more footage of different lighting setups that I use for my figures, so leave a comment down below if you would like to see more of that kind of stuff. And again, here you go, there's a bunch of filters that come preloaded with this program, and a lot of them are similar and I don't really play around with them too much, but excuse me, there are those that I do use sometimes just to bring out a little bit more punch into the shot. It does have black and white, different like overlays, textures. You can really get in depth with this. That's why I choose this editing program over anything else. But if you have Photoshop, I would highly recommend getting proficient in that, because that will take you far in your photographs. For me, it's just again just using the tools I got and try to utilize them well, because you don't need the best gear possible to get good shots. It's just a matter of using your imagination and working around your problems, and at the end of the day, here is the final shot edited, and we'll move on to the next question. Alright, so the second to last question is, how do you keep consistency? Now, this is a hard question to answer, because for me, it's just more or less what I'm comfortable with, and I've done photography for at least 5 years now, and I'm in no way an expert in it. It's just over the years I kind of knew what I liked, and for me, I feel like I'm strong at lighting single figures, single subjects, so I often stick to that. And if you look at my portfolio and my backlog, you'll notice that when I shoot a single subject, I either put them to the right or to the left, and I really need to break that habit, because you can really see that format throughout all my photography. And one area I do want to work on is multiple subjects in a shot, and try to work on my composition there. And outside of that, it's just like I said, over the years I kind of developed my own style, I guess you can say. It's more or less just what I like and what I would like to see in photographs, because at the end of the day, it's just what I would like to see exactly. And if other people like it, then that's cool. But yeah, that's the thing, I don't necessarily consider myself consistent, because I change subjects all the time. But like I said, there are those things that I pointed out. But yeah, if you can diversify your subjects and your number of subjects, you can really work on your skills. I guess I'm giving that advice to myself. Alright, let's just move on to the final question. Alright, so that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. Thank you all for the questions, and thank you all for actually subscribing and sticking with me despite my shenanigans. It's hard for me to articulate how much it means to me that you guys are sticking with me, and I'll be sure to make more videos for you guys. And I should probably go to bed now. So thank you all for watching, and until next time, I'll see you around.